I'm Farrakhan. I will die on truth. Not weak, but truth, strong and mighty to relieve you of your burdens. I'll tell you straight, you will never punk me. You don't have enough money to buy me. You don't have nothing to offer me. You can't kill me. Even if you try, I can't die. You'll deal with me for generations to come.
Black consciousness. You cannot talk about black consciousness without talking about the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam is really the foundation for a lot of these organizations that you see on the scene today. Just a few moments ago, we interviewed 300 gangsters, and they said that they don't work with any other organization but the NOI. So a lot of these organizations that you see today were birthed from the Nation of Islam. You know, a lot of these teachers and scholars that you hear today received a lot of their teachings and information from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Without further ado, I'd like to bring on, I'd like to introduce the Temple Minister, Student Minister Carlos Muhammad.
Right. Assalamu alaikum, my sister.
Wa alaikum salam, brother.
Thank you so much for having us on BABATV. We're so honored to be a part of this project that you're doing, and always, as we were just talking off camera, you know, I have a lot of respect and admiration for you and the work that you have done, not just in terms of your studies, but also taking what you've learned and attaching that on to the development of our people as a whole, but also our children. Our babies. And that's so important to us. And may the God continue to bless you and protect and preserve you in all of your endeavors. So we're happy to be a part of this.
Thank you so much. I was bragging about you earlier today, you and my brothers. I was telling Baba that he told me he was coming to town. Yesterday he called me. He said, I'm coming in town because I would like to interview the brothers from PLM who started the Grub Factory. And he said, and after that, he said, I can't leave Baltimore without coming to you, sister. And I said, well, when you come interview me, I said, I have a whole village of people I would like you to see. And so we've been around all day just meeting with the different tribes in Baltimore. We met with Brother Jabari from Reality Speaks. We met with Brother Jabari. We went over there to Conscious Head Barbershop. We went to Everyone's Place, hollered at Nati and them. And we went over to Reflections Eternal Barbershop, hollered at Sundiata in the Grindhouse. Then he went to the Grub Factory and spoke to Imhotep Fatiul and left there. And then we talked to PFK Boom and 300 Gangster. We talked to them, and now we're here at, this is my home, family. The Nation of Islam, this is my home. I remember, coming here, my uncle brought me here when I was 16 or 17, I believe. A little girl, so you're talking about 20 years ago, and this is when I first met Minister Carlos Muhammad. I was about 16 or 17, and I remember you getting on stage, and I was just blown away. Wow. Seeing a brother get up and speak the way you spoke, and the information and your knowledge base, and I mean, it absolutely blew me away. And I remember ever since then, coming, and then I would, come off and on. But this is my home. The Nation of Islam is my home, and each time I come here, you make it known, that this is my home, and I appreciate that. Absolutely. I appreciate that. But Minister Carlos, when was Muhammad Mosque number 6, Mosque number 6, established in Baltimore City? When was it established?
Well, first, the beauty of the history of Islam in America as a whole, as we know, which the great Noble Drew Ali and the work of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey preceded the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but he picked up where these beautiful brothers had began that work. And so he started with his teacher, Master Fard Muhammad, in Detroit, Michigan in 1930, which became Temple Number 1. And from there, they went to Chicago in 1932, and that became Temple Number 2. Okay. And then over to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which became Number 3. Okay. And upon the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teacher leaving him, he gave him an assignment to come to Washington, D.C. to study some things. And upon the Honorable Elijah Muhammad coming to Washington, he himself, for the first time without his teacher, established Temple No. 4 in Washington, D.C., and this was around 1937. Once he was in Washington, he began to do his work, and he would travel midway back to Chicago because things were a little hot there. So he would stop in the state of Ohio, Dayton and Cincinnati and those places to see his wife and his children and some of the laborers. Thus, Temple No. 5 was established in Cincinnati.
And what year was this again?
And that was in 1941.
Okay,
when that happened. But in his process to get to Baltimore, he would come back and forth from Washington to Baltimore because the agents were after him. The FBI agents was after him. So he lived in a house with a man that he converted. His slave name was Benjamin Mitchell, but he was the first convert that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad actually had in Washington because he rented a room in Minister Benjamin's house. So the house, the Maryland D.C. line ran through the middle of the house. So where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad stayed in the house was actually on the Maryland side. So when the feds would come in to knock on the door looking for Mr. Ghulam Bogans and Mr. Evans, as he was calling himself under some of these names, Benjamin would just simply tell him he's not in the city right now. Because technically he would be upstairs in his room and he wouldn't actually be in D.C.
It would be in Maryland.
He would be in Maryland. But things got a little hot, so he would come over to Baltimore. And he would walk up and down Pennsylvania Avenue, and he would sit in Lafayette Park.
And then you're talking about Elijah
Muhammad, yes. So in 1942, he established Mosque No. 6 or Temple No. 6 at that time on what was called Green Willow Street. It was another little smaller street right off of Pennsylvania Avenue, and that's where we began. In 1957, he purchased a piece of property from Little Willie Adams that is on 514 Wilson Street or Islamic Way today.
Yes, Islamic Way.
In 1957, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad purchased that. It used to house the circus animals. Before we took it and converted it into our mosque, which was there and served under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's leadership from 1957 to 1975. So that is the root of that. And of course, his star student and my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, rebuilt this work in 1977. And so 42 years later, we are here, and Mosque No. 6 was reestablished in 1979 in that rebuilding effort. So it's a lot in that history. You know, I love history, so I just wanted to give the full
Yes, I'm glad that you did, because this is history that I didn't know.
Yes.
This is history that I didn't know, and the viewers are learning, you know, as well. So when did you become the temple minister, and what brought you to Islam?
Okay.
Before you came to Islam.
Okay.
Tell me what brought you to Islam.
Before Islam, I was like anybody else in Baltimore. This is why we thank Allah for the opportunity to serve our people, because I'm born and raised here. I'm from here, and I've grown up in the environments that many of our people still grow up in today in terms of the abject poverty and the things that we face. And as a result, like the systematic things that we see, I ended up straying and getting involved into activities that we get involved in when we don't have the knowledge of ourselves. But by God's grace, I heard the message of that beautiful man, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, at 14. And upon hearing that message and reading the great autobiography of Malcolm X, and starting to get consciousness as a result of that. And eventually I came, at that time we were meeting at the YWCA on Park Avenue. We didn't have this building. We didn't have a home yet. So we were kind of like the Gypsy Mosque, meeting in different places. And I heard the teachings for the very first time. And I knew then that I had never heard anything like that. And what I felt more importantly was the love in the unity
Yes.
of those brothers and sisters, and I never felt the atmosphere like that before. It was, we kind of say it was strange, but what it was is people loving each other and people that were together for a common cause. And as a result, I continued to come, and at the age of 16, I got my ex. And registered into the Nation of Islam. And at my first Savior's Day that I traveled to, because we used to hold them in the cities and do satellites in those days. But the first time I traveled to Chicago for Savior's Day, I was given an award for the top Final Call salesman for that year. I didn't know. And the Honorable Minister was sitting up on the banquet dais, and he said, how old are you, brother? And I told him I was 17 at the time, and he said, "Oh, well, brother, your name will be Muhammad from this point on, so call him Carlos Muhammad," which means one worthy of praise and praise much. Not that I'm worthy of praise, but the work that I did was a praiseworthy work. So that's how I ended up joining. And around November of 1994, November 19th to be exact, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan installed me as his minister here in the city of Baltimore, following behind a great teacher and friend and mentor of mine, Minister Jamil Muhammad, who moved on to Atlanta at that time. And 25 years later, we're still here, and we're sitting here right now.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I know that you guys have a lot of things going on. I mean, the nation is always active, but mainstream media doesn't show what the Nation of Islam is doing. You guys did a lot of marvelous things. Like I'm thinking back to the 90s when you guys went into the projects. I forgot which one. I don't know if it was Murphy Homes or Lexington Terrace.
All of them. He was in Lexington Terrace, Murphy Homes, Lafayette, Flag House. All of the high rises in the city, with the exception of McCullough Homes, which the elderly, or elderly homes where our brothers and sisters were. But in terms of the high-rise projects in the cities, we were at all of them.
Yeah, you guys were and you went in and you cleaned them up. And I remember this. I'm thinking 96, 97. You guys went in and you guys cleaned it up. And the nation is still active. You guys still do a lot of things. The nation still does a lot of things in the community. I know that you guys have a prison program, oh my goodness, brother Andrew, help me out. I know it's prison.
Yeah, juvenile.
The juvenile system is something else I'm missing. Yeah, the community engagements, the violence interruption. So you guys have a lot going on. I want you to tell the people what's going on, because this is stuff they don't get in mainstream media. So they don't see what the Nation of Islam is doing, in the mainstream media. Fox is not going to show it to them. WBAL, NBC, ABC, Channel 11, they're not going to show them what the nation is doing here in Baltimore. So could you tell the viewers what's going on with the nation and what you guys are involved in Baltimore?
Well, first and foremost, our foundation from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan has always been, though we are faith-based, we believe in the religion of Islam, but it's not religion in the sense that it is a detachment from our people.
That's right.
See, so we were taught that all of our brothers and sisters are members of the nation. They may not be in the mosque,
Right.
but they are members of the nation. And so because of that, we have a mantra that our first work is to go after the mentally and spiritually dead brother and sister that come out of the same condition that God blessed us to come out of. And as a result of that, that's why you have always seen this Muslim community then and now active out among our people. We know the track record of what the Nation of Islam has done for our people that have suffered from the scourge of drugs and alcohol, the abuse of self and the abuse of others. We know the track record of what it has done for our brothers and sisters that may find themselves incarcerated in the American penal system, which was supposed to reform us, but of course there's no reform for our brothers and sisters behind the walls unless you are actively involved in some social movement in getting the knowledge of yourself, whether it's with the nation, whether it's with the Sunni community, whether it's with the Moorish Americans, or any other proactive group that you can educate yourself and come out a more productive brother and sister before you went in. Matter of fact, mentioning the prison program in Islam in America, that began with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was arrested and sent to federal prison in 1942, where he served time in Milan, Michigan, the federal institution there. And so that's where Muslim populations began, with him and the followers that followed him into prison. See? So today, we owe him the debt of gratitude for rights to religion Islamically, and anybody else that has benefited, because he already made that sacrifice along with his other followers. So I'll close with this. My teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, told me at 20 years old, when he was assigning me to this city, he gave me an instruction. And he said, I don't want you spending a lot of time around the well-to-do in downtown and City Hall, wasting time.
Right.
He said, I want you to stay in the schools, in the projects, and in the prisons. Because if you serve our people in those places, they will never forget you. And I can bear witness that 25 years later, there's not too many places that I can go in the city that somebody or some group or some young brother or some sister knows me. I may not know them by name.
Right.
And this is why we give all praises due to Allah, because I couldn't do that of myself. This has something to do with the divine work that all of us have chosen to become a helper and a part of.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. So do you have any other questions, Baba? Because he did. I mean, he did. So thank you so much, Minister Carlos Muhammad, for giving us some of your time and, and talking to us about the Nation of Islam. I want to ask a few more questions, but I know, we were already kind of late coming in.
If you want to ask what you want.
Okay, so a few questions. I know that Brother Ben X, that's another YouTube brother on YouTube, and you have Dr. Wesley Muhammad, and so a lot of people are confused about what the Nation of Islam teaches. Okay. When they hear, that you hear Allah, and then you hear the black man is God. So a lot of people get kind of confused. They say, well, you say it's Allah, you believe in Allah, but then you say the black man is God. What does the Nation of Islam teach?
Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has caused us to see and understand that we as black people are the original people of the earth. He called us the aboriginal people, meaning we are the people from which all people come. All the colors, all of the hues actually come from.
That's a fact.
And so he asked us from his teacher the same question that his teacher asked him. He asked us, but he gave us his answer. And that first question that we are asked as his students is, who is the original man? And that answer is, the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. So Elijah Muhammad taught us further that God only means force and power, that there is nothing in creation that does not move by the permissive and active will of the Creator with force and power. And the best of that creation is absolutely the human being. And so since we can look at the creatures, and we can look at all of the things out in the creation, and we can marvel at the way the Creator gave us the trees to shade ourselves, and gave us this, and gave us the water, and gave us things to get from the land and from the animal life if we choose permissibly to do it that way. But nothing is greater than the human being. When the human being is operating in his or her optimum, he or she is absolutely reflecting and transmitting the divine. So this is where you see some of the language that the black man is God, but the white man is a God too, of his own world and of his own evil. But when you talk about the divine Creator, we are taught that he has 99 characteristics or attributes, Allah being the 100th, in the sense that it encapsulates all the other attributes such as wisdom, might, power. But to show you the wisdom of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and him showing us that God doesn't just reside with the black man, for every black man has come from the black woman.
Come on, let's talk about it.
So when he was asked, how far after the black man did the black woman come? And he said, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, because after God created himself, he created the black woman. to see himself over and over again. Then that's deep science now.
That is deep science.
Right? But I just want to make that clear. So in these divine characteristics or attributes of God, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan pointed out one time when we were in, where's Rutgers University? In Somerset, New Jersey. And a young sister asked him about that. And he said, look at the way that the divine characteristic of Allah called Hakim. He's Al-Hakim. So he's the wise. But he gives us his hikmah, his wisdom to display. So I can be Brother Hakim. But you can't be Brother Hakim without Sister Hakimah. See, so there's always the balance.
The balance, the contrast.
See, that whatever is in the man from God, so it is in the woman. So yeah, so this is just language. But at the end of the day, there's but one God.
That's right.
That we all come from.
That we all come from. Ashe. So let me ask you this, and I'm going to let you go. I know that the Nation of Islam, and I heard it in one of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's speeches. He said that a nation can rise no higher than its women, right? What is meant by that statement?
The black woman of America has, according to what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his minister Farrakhan has taught us, has been the most abused and mistreated. We, as poor representations of men, learned the abuse of our women, which we didn't practice until we got here. We saw how the slave master treated his wife. And because she stayed, we inadvertently began to pick up the characteristics of the slave master in their children, because he had already started the conspiracy, literally manifest, to break up and destroy the black family. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is telling us that the nation can't rise any higher than its woman, because it is the proper respect and protection of our most valuable asset is what's going to cause the nation to rise. How is this? Any great man that we would say is great, whether it be an entertainer, whether it be a ball player, whether it be a singer or an actor or whatever, a teacher, it could be whatever we're saying. This man is a great historian, this man is a great leader, came from a woman. And if it's a black entertainer, a black athlete, a black this or that, came from a black woman most times. The point is, we got to look at the fact that if the woman is not elevated, then Elijah Muhammad said, how can then we get the respect of other civilized nations? America is not a civilized country.
Not at all.
See?
Not
So
at all.
she doesn't care about the treatment of the female.
No.
See? But if you and I want the respect of other civilized nations and people, then we must elevate our women. So the change, Elijah Muhammad said, dissatisfaction brings about a total and complete change. Well, where's the change coming from? The change is not coming from City Hall or the State House or the White House or any other municipality. The change is coming from the womb of a black woman. See? So whenever there was a problem in our construct, our ancestors and our people would pray that somebody or something could come along to help relieve us of our pain. And it always came through the womb of a woman. Harriet Tubman, womb of a woman. Frederick Douglass, the womb of a woman. Marcus, all of them, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Minister Farrakhan, you and I.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
See, so this is why we can't rise any higher than the female, because when we elevate her, we're elevating God. And when we got that connection with him, right? And I'll leave you with this. You know, one of the most repeated characteristics, we back to these attributes, right? Is Al Rahman and Al Rahim, right? This is beneficence and mercy, right? So the terminology Rahman and Rahim come from the Arabic root Rahim, which means womb. So in a saying to the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him, Allah says to him, I have taken my name, I am Allah, I have taken one of my names from the Rahim, from the womb. So Rahman comes from womb. So he says, so whoever disrespects the Rahim, I cut them off from it. And whoever respects and reveres the womb, I give him from it. So any of us as men that's looking for all of this compassion and mercy from the female, by nature she got that. Until you destroy her view of God. And so we keep trying to get from our female what she can naturally give us, but we're not qualified or worthy anymore. So we're trying to figure out why the food don't taste right.
Right.
Because we disrespected the womb. You see? So in the spiritual sense, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan are causing us to come back to the knowledge of ourselves, so that when we can elevate our women, we already elevated. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told his minister, and it's a sign for all of us as men in the nation. He said, brother, a man can walk around in dirty overalls, but if his family is clean and have what they supposed to have, nobody will ever judge that man.
No.
But if that man is well dressed and his wife and his children is raggedy, that man can't get no respect, no matter how he's dressed in terms of these nice things. So this is to show us that we're not in Islam to have our women 3 steps behind us.
No.
Right? We're here to have the whole black family together, man, woman, and child,
That's right.
striding together in the cause. And this is the beauty of having such a leader and teacher as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Absolutely. So I want to ask this, and I'm going to close, I promise you. In a lot of things are going on right now. A black person gets killed in America every day. I know that we hear about the popular names. We hear about Trayvon Martin, and we hear about Alton Sterling and Philando Castillo. But these are the popular ones. But in actuality, in February, 30 black men and women were killed at the hands of unarmed men, and women were killed at the hands of police officers and things of that nature. So with all this stuff going on, I know it was an incident that just recently happened in California with the young sister Nia Wilson and her sister, and then there was an incident that happened down in Florida with a brother by the name of Marquis. So with all of the stuff happening right now in black America, what should we do? You know, what does black America, what should the black community be doing right now? How should we be governing ourselves right now, and especially in wartime? Because a lot of us don't think that we're in wartime, but this is a war. It's a war going on. So what should the black community be doing, and how should we be governing ourselves in a time like this?
Well, if we look back to the push for what we have coined 10-10-15, or the Justice or Else movement, that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did on the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March. He was saying justice or else. But in that push, he called for 10,000 fearless men. And that 10,000 fearless men, he didn't at first say what that was for. So it kind of sent some shock waves to the Caucasian people to think that the minister was calling together around the country 10,000 fearless men in these cities to go to war with whites because of these injustices. Right? But the minister said, we're fighting a war, sister, on 2 fronts. We're fighting an injustice that is coming from our open enemies, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us. He said, we believe that the offer of integration is hypocritical. He's saying this back then, and that it is being used by our 400-year-old open enemy, right? As a means to deceive us into making us to believe that all of a sudden they are our friends. So in 2018, racial slurs on social media. See, we didn't have social media, so we capturing all of this now. Right, in real time, or on video, or on body cam, where the police still beating us down with a body camera on. Why? Because the part of that struggle is we don't deserve it, but at the same time, have we listened to proper leadership that's been in your midst? See? So when a 7-year-old girl gets murdered,
Yes, he did.
not just in Baltimore, it happened to us here, but it's happening all over the country, not at the hands of the police, See, that's the other part of the war, that we're fighting in terms of how we dealing with each other. You see what I'm saying? And that's a hard run. Why? Because we can stand up and say this is criminal what whites are doing this to us. But in their slick way, they would turn that around on us and say, wait a minute. Look at what you're doing to yourself. See? So we fighting that battle. But in Chicago, a 7-year-old girl was murdered. Right, in between some gunfire between some of our brothers out there representing these sets. And at a rally, they went to the house of the mother. Minister Farrakhan's telling this story, which I'm answering your question with this. Said that they went to that house with that grieving mother, and they gave her a fruit basket. And he said, damn, what they should have done is taking her the fruit of Islam. See? See, why did Elijah Muhammad set this up with a military component? It was to discipline us, teach us rightly, and organize us to defend ourselves and defend our people. So we're not saying that everyone is going to join the mosque. Right? But we got something of benefit to attach on to. So come on, if you fear, scared and got a little fear in you, don't worry about that. Get around the fearless. See? That's how a scared little lion learn to be bold, by being around the bigger lion that has grown up in its nature. So when we see the strong men from the church, from the community organizations, from the street organizations, from the Fruit of Islam and the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under Minister Farrakhan's leadership banding together, then that wouldn't go on. The police couldn't come in our community and do nothing. Why? Because we respect ourselves and we respect our own community. And when we protect our own community rightly, when the police come, they'll check with us. Is everything okay?
Right.
They won't come and make a move on their own. Why? Because they know this group right here, they protect their own. See? So we got work to do. And the thing that really hurts us in 2018 is all of these petty arguments over religion, over program and position, right? Why don't we learn the lesson of taking what we have in common and what's good, since it's all from God anyway, and put all of that petty argument to the side and go out here and affect change on our people. We're not in this business to be a braggart about, well, when the nation come, they show us respect and y'all can't get no respect over there. We're not that ignorant and cold.
No.
See? But some are like that. I can't walk with y'all Muslims. Well, I don't know about all of the African stuff. I ain't messing around with that. We're petty.
Yeah, we are. We are.
And we need to stop it. And so this is not to knock it, but everybody can be a social media gangster today. But not only can you be a social media gangster, right? Now you can become a social media activist where you look like you getting some work done, but you ain't doing nothing at all but shooting videos. See? What would be the image of a man in my construct that gets all dressed up in this suit and bow tie and pick up some newspapers and go out on a corner and have somebody take pictures of him? And then when he finishes taking the pictures, he puts his paper back under his arm and put them back in the car and go home and change his clothes. And then post the pictures as if he really went out there helping save the people by pushing the message of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan. Now, some would look at this and say, hey, Minister, why are you doing that? Why are you saying that like that? Because I follow my leader. That's right. And there's transparency. I'm not saying that that's being done. I'm only showing you what that might look like and how sad that would be.
Absolutely.
If we did those kinds of things from our construct, when we know it's being done in many different avenues where people are just shooting videos, but you won't meet us on that notorious street corner to try to save our people.
No.
See? So I leave you with this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said that we don't care how wicked our people are or appear to be, there's not one of them that cannot be redeemed. Malcolm was redeemed. Many of us were redeemed from the scourges of the street. So we know it's possible. See, But we got to get out of this petty argument and petty judgment and stop being intellectual swines. We've read too many books and we've listened to too many lectures and didn't go out and do any work.
Do anything.
So I'm sorry, I get passionate.
No, I agree with that. Now, before we close, I want to know this. I was told, I was listening to a broadcast that was on YouTube, and it was Dr. Wesley Muhammad. He was talking about what happened to black masculinity, and he made the statement that that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had a few weeks back announced that manhood training on Monday nights will be now open to the public.
Yes.
Okay, so is that like now? Is that starting now, or is this like something in the future? Or
this is in operation right now. Matter of fact, on July 9th, all around the country, we had what you might call a Fruit of Islam open house night, where we allowed the public to come in and actually participate and be a part of our training mechanisms. And not only is the class open up for the public, because we were given a mandate by Elijah Muhammad's teacher, Master Fard Muhammad. He told Elijah Muhammad in the 30s, make all men and boys join the FOI and make them brave fighters and make them the kind of men that will be willing at any time to give their life for the cause of Islam and for the sake of Allah. See, this was in the 30s.
it's okay.
See, so that has been our mission. Now, the point is now, not only just can somebody come to the mosque, but if they don't come to the mosque, I mean, we got a big city out here, right? Everybody can't fit in here.
Right.
So we take the training where they are. So the minister, when he did the men's only meetings in 1994, leading up to the Million Man March, he really wanted the men's only meetings to now be in the communities, meaning that we could give you what the best we got in a rec center, right? And then from that, now bring the women. See, because only a real woman can make another real woman.
Come on.
See what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So this is what I would suggest to anybody that is listening. Yes, the mosque or the church, these are our bases. But if we go into those communities and give the people the best that we got, you will see change coming along. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I met with him a few days after the uprising. I went out to the farm where he was at to see him and ask him about the guidance and next steps. What do we do? And he told me this about our beautiful brothers in the so-called street organizations or the gangsters. And he said, listen, if you talk to them and tell them that if they took an investment in the community that they have been helping to destroy and buy up that property and fix it up, he said, then nobody and nothing could happen to us that we would destroy what we built. Meaning, you notice we like to destroy things when we feel there's a social injustice, because it's sometimes the only way that we can get this out.
Right.
But if we build our community and open up a store for grandma and them and fix these houses up, well, if an injustice takes place, ain't nobody gonna burn that down.
No.
So what was the minister saying? Yeah, it was unfortunate what happened to Freddie Gray, right? But life don't stop. You don't destroy it and then just now they leave us in it and gentrifying us and gentrifying the community in East Baltimore with Johns Hopkins, and in West Baltimore, the University of Maryland medical system. See, this is by design. So if we don't get busy to carve out a place that we could call our own, a section of the city that can become the model of everything it is that we have of good in our constructs and our teachings from wherever it may be, to know that you can't come in this neighborhood and sell drugs. Ain't gonna be no violence over here, right? Our children can go to school and learn and be safe. Our women can be safe, right? And when they see a model like that, oh, I want to live there. Well, you got to qualify to come in a place like this, because we used to live with y'all.
That's right.
But y'all wouldn't listen to what we were saying. So we want to have New Africa, New Medina, and all of the other little places that we might want to name them. These are good names, but there's other names. I'm just saying, you know, because when you come there, we're not having that. We're going to beat our drums.
Absolutely.
See? And we're going to give our oral traditions and history.
Right.
And we're going to practice the best of our customs. And ain't nobody going to do anything for us. This is the vision of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, to see our people in peace no matter what backgrounds they come from.
That's right.
So I would leave it there.
That's right. Well, there you have it, Baba. This was a wonderful interview. Thank you so much again, Minister Carlos. Brother Andrew, I wanted to get you on camera to say something, King. You say one thing? That reminded me of...
I do want to give a big shout out. Man, really, no, honestly, the beautiful believers of Mosque No.6, you know, I could not do this work without their help. You know, there's no use of somebody being a foreman on a job talking about he's the foreman, you know, and screaming and hollering, and then all of his workers leave. So a real foreman has great workers. That's and right. Our student captain, Brother Andrew, and all of the mighty brothers, Sister Leslie on the sister side and the sisters, and the rest of the laboring staff under that leadership. You know, we are a humble house. We like to call ourselves the Worker Bee Mosque. It may not be glitz and glamour, but we get the job done by God's permission, and we back fully our leader and teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So big shout out to the believers of Mosque No.6 and all of the believers throughout the nation of Islam, and our beloved leader always, that we ask that God protect and preserve him and grant him long, long life. It was good to see him come out last night and speak to the nation via webcast, and he looked so beautiful at 85 years young and giving us the strength. But he was putting on us, you know, time wins every time. So the hallmark of a good student is not that you shine in the presence of your teacher.
That's right.
But the hallmark of a good student is that you continue to shine in the absence of your leader and continue on in the great and noble work. I don't want you to think the minister's dying.
No.
But he's giving us the logic and reason to know that this ain't a charismatic leader and that our work finishes when he's not here. It's that we have to continue on with the best in what we have been taught and continue in that noble mission of going after our people and saving them.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question, Minister Carlos. How can people support you? So you have people who are watching, who are listening, and you know, and they know about the NOI, and they say, I want to support, you know, Muhammad Mosque Temple number 6. How do they get in touch with you all? How can they support you? You know, do you guys have a social media page, email, telephone number? How can they get in contact with you if they want to support you or tune in or? All
of that. Facebook, Muhammad Mosque number 6. Of course, we're here located in Baltimore, 3306 Garrison Boulevard. Our meetings are every Sunday. Our general meetings at 11 a.m. every Sunday morning. Doors open at 10:30. You're welcome to come and visit with us and listen to the life-giving teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And for the radio listeners, we are on WEAA 88.9 FM, Morgan State Radio. Yeah, every Sunday from 8 to 9 p.m. We have been blessed to be on that station since 1979. And big shout out to Kwasi and Fume, who put on the first tape of Minister Farrakhan back in May of 1979, and we've been on there ever since. Yeah. So that's how you can get at us, 410-367-9371. But remember, every Sunday, 11 a.m., doors open at 10:30 a.m., 3306 Garrison Boulevard, Muhammad Mosque number 6.
Thank you so much, Mr. Carlos Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.